All right. Um, so let's brainstorm a little bit so we don't just fumble the bag. But I didn't work on this at work at all, but we'll just go introduction into I think a good way to like touch on everything is to go into each matchup and talk about how we think the year will look for each team and then say who's going to win that matchup.
Do you want to do any like off-season recap thing, like big
Yeah,
moves
but like
or
what?
I don't know.
I mean, everybody should have seen it except Tyler.
That's okay. Fair enough.
Tyler, here's what happened while you were away.
That'd be a good bit, actually.
It really would be.
Okay, you're right. You're right. Everybody's been semi-plugged in.
All right. Well, do you have to start recording or are you going to cut this?
Oh, we're good. No, I'll cut the front half off. So,
Okay. All right. Welcome to the GFFL podcast. This is going to be season 20. We are back. I'm not going to say to my left, I don't know how it's going to actually orientate, but I've got Matt Lawson here, the champion, as some of you guys know him, two-time going for three. I've got everyone's favorite guy to beat up on, Johnny Phillips of the Nuts here, half of the Nuts now. One nut. He
oh, you
added
knew
his
that.
twin to the team, Joshua.
Mhm.
How y'all feeling tonight?
Go
Doing
ahead.
good. Ready for football to be back.
We're here, bro. I can't believe we finally made it.
We
We
made
made
it.
it. Oh, it feels so good outside. It's like
I
60
know
degrees
today
outside
was
right
just
now.
like, yep, y'all are here. Like
Incredible.
if
Yeah.
it felt like last week today, I still wouldn't it wouldn't feel right.
Nope.
All right, let's go into this matchup by matchup. We're gonna go not only are we gonna say who's gonna win these week one matchups, but we are going to talk about the season outlook, maybe even sprinkle in a little future outlook for each one of these squads. Maybe talk about some things that happened while Tyler wasn't paying attention this offseason. Um, I'm going to go on my order. We got the Kings versus the Mean Machine.
Okay.
So, believe it or not, the Kings are rebuilding still. It's been a long process. Some of the contract work and the deadlines got kind of pushed back a little bit. We had to push it back another year. But how do y'all think this matchup fares out?
Johnny, you go first.
I think the Mean Machine take this one pretty easily from you. No ill intent here, but you are in a rebuild. Everybody knows that. It's going to take time. Week one of the college football season, though, had to have been feeling good for you with all those picks you
No,
got.
yeah, I got to see some of my guys play. That was
Yeah,
good.
that looks insane. But Jeff has kind of, I don't really know how at the end of last year they looked really bleak. Their pick situation still is very good, but they have built a pretty strong uh, starting roster with no real holes in it, at least at the start. So I'm interested to see what they can do this year.
It's looking a lot better than it typically does. I think the big move this offseason for them was, believe it or not, getting rid of CD Lamb. That Garrett Wilson Olave trade was just way too much. Like Victor just slapped his nuts on the table and said, I just want the best guys. And Jeff and Brad kind of profited from it. I think it's a playoff team for sure this year. One of my top four, I would say off the bat. Is these guys on your radar, Matt?
Yeah, I have I think everything you said is correct. I have them at 5 in my rankings. I think they're one or two pieces outside from being a contender, um, which I consider a contender top 4 in this league. But I do think they've made some good moves. Like you said, starting roster is pretty strong. I'm not huge on the Montgomery running back starting situation there, and Kyron's got a little scariness around him this week, being labeled as punt returner. But the rest of this roster, stacks up. So,
Yeah, I think
um,
it's really contingent on how much that quarterback tight end duo can make up for the lack of sexiness at running back. They're not
Yeah.
bad running backs, but some of these other contenders in the league, you look at their running backs and they're locked in running back ones if they stay healthy. These guys are like running back twos with weekly upside if they fall in the end zone multiple times. Um, but it's a good team, man. Like I said, things would have to go horribly wrong for them not to make the playoffs, and if that's your situation, then you've got a chance to win it all.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think if they get, if they get a Gibbs injury somewhere around the middle of the season and they get a Najee Harris injury somewhere and those running backs get, the fair share of the load, I think that's when they turn into contenders. But week one, I've got them just outside, but I do have them knocking off the Kings here in week one.
Yeah, it's going to be a slaughter. At one point, I had aspirations to beat them, but it doesn't look like it's going to be many wins this season. And this is not going to be one of them. We're going to have to figure out who some of these guys are that I can actually start this year, and it's going to be a crapshoot week one. But my team, like I said, I'm not projecting many wins. The whole If anybody's interested in any of my players, they're all available except Jaden Daniels. The whole thesis we're going on here is I'm allowing myself to do any moves I want if it feels right, but I cannot move my 2025 first. So if anybody's interested in anything, let's have some fun. Let's go into the next matchup. The Nuts versus the Dream Team. This one's going to be fun. We've got Michael's squad of just hand-picked, hand-selected players. If you just let him pick out whichever players he wants, these are going to be the guys he got. Versus Johnny's little team over here, Johnny and Josh, the Phillips brothers. You feeling confident in week one, Johnny?
yeah, I'm confident. I mean, I'm biased, obviously, but he builds his teams purely for upside, and we all remember what happened in the play-in tournament last year against Jeff, where he knocked Jeff's team off with the upside. It all hit. So he's got it built that way. But yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about my team. Uh, yeah, I like my chances this week.
Well, I told Michael this team could make a playoff run, but it's also a team I'm worried about taking the 101 from me. That's one of the picks I don't have because five out of six of the five of these starters could have tweaked hamstrings in like a week and a half, and it could just be awful.
Yeah.
You got any confidence in this dream team, Matt?
Um, week one, no.
No.
Losing Hollywood Brown hurt.
Yeah, that's a bummer for him.
Um, no, I think Johnny matches up across the board. I think he takes it. I do. I like Michael's build. I liked it last year, and then I feel like it hasn't changed. So I don't know why I like it this year, but it's the
It's
high
just a
upside
team.
play.
It's a team that nobody's going to call their favorite, but
No,
still, when you're lined
it's
up
one that's
across
going to
from
be
them,
fun to watch and follow every week.
yeah, when
Exactly.
you're lined up across from them, you're not going to feel like you're going to win for sure. Like you know what can happen. It's
Exactly.
I feel like a
Exactly.
lot of his build is tied to not so much Xavier Worthy because I think he's going to get his, but that Adonai Mitchell pick is going to be. Does that boost Michael into the top, 5 or 6? I don't think it's going to take him higher than that. But if that's a piece he can build around going into next year, combined with Anthony Richardson, if he's, taking some of those touchdowns on the ground away from Jonathan Taylor and hitting Adonai Mitchell in the end zone, then I think this is a team that there's pieces there and there's rookies there that he'll be able to build off of. But
oh yeah,
um,
for
I,
sure.
I don't see it week one. I think Nuts win pretty easily.
Yeah,
I,
a Rashi Rice or late season suspension would also help the squad out a lot. You got to
I
go up.
hate that. I hate that Matt, Will, Jared, Jeff. Like, obviously, we've had this core of teams in here for the 20 years to however long we've been doing this league. But there's a few teams in here that have not seen Michael's team in its prime, like when he's really got his team. But you have to respect that he goes for his guys, and he builds his team his way, and he wants to watch his guys do well. And he's not going to trade one of those Adonai Mitchells for a bunch of Jacoby Meyer types. Like he'll ship
Dude,
them off immediately because he wants to have fun. So
the offer he texted me about Adonai Mitchell this week, I was just like, brother, I'm a believer too, but you gotta be kidding me. Let me find this offer. We were brainstorming because we're always brainstorming how to make our
he
teams
probably
better, but
needs Jaden Reed plus for Adonai Mitchell, I assume.
he said, um, Adonai Mitchell plus a 2026 second does that equal Chase Brown and your 2027 firsts? I said, how did this guy go from a second round pick to 2027 first in a couple weeks of the offseason?
He might be right. He's hit on a few recently here, and if he gets the Jalen Wright thing correct, and some it seems like Xavier Worthy, he's kind of already been right on that. We're about to see it happen in real time, but preseason you have to believe it looks good. So,
Well, I think
uh,
a cool thing about this draft class is we could look back on this in 5 to 6 years, and all of those Texas guys are hits.
yeah,
Hicks,
Yep.
Jatavian, Worthy, Mitchell, and even Whittington in some
Whittington.
fashion. That might be a historical one team draft class minus a quarterback, obviously, but it's a fun
Yeah,
little group. Let's move on. Well, okay, let's say nuts in the playoffs for sure. Michael as a dark horse, play in nightmare kind of scenario.
Who makes the
Well,
play in? What number? What's
um,
what's the last
every
team to get in?
all 11. Everybody makes the play in.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah, I've got Michael at 11. I had Johnny around what I have Johnny at. I had Johnny at 7.
Johnny at 7. So Johnny would be in they might would be matching up against each other in the play-in. This
that's
might
not the
be
one. He's not the one you want to see round one.
I like Johnny's team as a top 6 this year. It's got a lot of things you gotta hope go right. Cooper Cup, Debo, A Chain. Yeah, we'll see. We got so far we've got the Meme Machine unanimously beating the Kings. I'm gonna throw a flyer that Dream Team upsets the Nuts week 1, but we got a 2-1 Nuts over Dream Team. This is a fun matchup. We got
I like
Bombers versus
before we go into it, I like seeing the value in these second round picks in GFFL. I feel like in our league they almost get underrated a little bit because they're not in the first, but Michael seeing increased value on Adonai Mitchell. I think you're seeing increased value on McMillan from Tampa Bay. Historically, I found a lot of value in Gibson, and you see it every year. But I feel like that's something that I personally just discount. I'm like, oh, it's a second. That's going to be a piece that I'm going to move in a trade. But you're seeing these guys already get value from training camp before even season 1 or week 1. So
you're you're
something I
kind
got
of
to keep
cracking
doing.
into my team's philosophy right now, man. These second round picks have no value until they are names that are doing stuff in training camp and getting Twitter buzz. They
Yep.
always shoot up at some point. I've got
Yep.
10 of the seconds next year already. So you're preaching
Jeez.
to the choir on that one.
Jeez.
But there really is always some value you can make out of those second and thirds. Even like I think it was the Stroud year, or even Hurts, no, or Herbert. It's historical that nobody wants to touch a quarterback in the GFL draft, but
Yep.
then as soon as they're on a team and people start hearing about them, they're like, "Oh, I'd
Oh,
like to have
take him.
that quarterback." Like you can get
Mhm.
him in the third and fourth, and then flip him for like a first or something. It's insane. Let's go with the next matchup. We got the Bombers versus the Wolf Pups. This is a little bit of a rivalry. I don't know. Would you say the Pups are Trey's number one rival, or are we looking at him over here at Matt?
Oh, I think there's some. It's always fun when T Ray matches up with either of those. Matt and T Ray though, they have like the best friend like rivalry too. So I think that's probably the number one there, and all the shit they talk to each other, even though it's all love at the end of the day. So I think Matt is the one T Ray really wants to get after Matt constantly throws him into the pretenders and shits on all of his moves.
How many
the
championships still Trey respects Matt's fantasy game?
the thing is, T Ray used to be, he was my mentor for so many years in fantasy football. I was late playing compared to everybody else. And so I was in a league with him, and every trade, no matter what, I'd have to send it to him to get it across the finish line or give him his input. And that was always redraft. We never played Dynasty together and always heard about GFFL. So I knew about it. And I got in here and I'm like, okay, T Ray, I know his redraft game, but then I just see his dynasty game. I'm like, this guy doesn't know a fucking clue about fantasy football. Like, what is he doing? And so, yeah, I lost a lot of respect for him. I see him manage these teams just into the dirt, and
Oh no.
Hey, the old school again. We're taking this back years. T. Ray came very, very close multiple times. That man has had some trauma that he's had to get past. But
He
everybody
has
goes
been
through.
close, bro.
He's been really close before everybody, the new wave came in here. So he's a legend in the GFFL space. Come on.
I think he's close every year in some aspect, whether it's second place or not. Every year it seems like something happens that just
I mean, this
completely
roster's
halts the
not close.
situation.
I've got him 10th in the league. That's not close.
And wow. Right.
Here's the thing though, bro. You could put these guys 10th and 11th and whatever, except me at 12th is the exception. But these guys, I say this every year because nobody's interested in picks except myself. Every team's good. Like there's obviously teams that aren't great. You don't put Trey in the favorites category at all, but it's not a bad dynasty team. It's not some team you're just going to line up against and walk all over. It's got Tank Dell, Nico Collins.
Yeah, but none of these groups are top five. Not his receiver group, not his running back group, not his quarterback group, not his tight end
No,
group. So I mean,
What's his
uh,
other than Nico and Tank and Reed? What's his other receivers?
Deontay.
Deontay.
Okay.
I mean, that's a good piece. That's a good piece he should be trading and get some picks for or something to a contender. Let them take him. Not a good piece for his team.
Yeah.
Well, he stockpiles 2026 first, so there's a light at the end of the tunnel for like turning
There you
the
go.
whole thing around.
Yep.
Can't wait to see what he does with those.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. Okay, does he have any chance against these Wolf Pups week one?
Um, Let me figure out how
Ah,
to work sleeper on my browser.
I I would I would love to see the upset, but I do think that honestly, the pups are always strong. They usually have like one glaring flex problem, and it was Cortland Sutton last year who gave them a steady like 12 to 13 every week that they lived on. But then them getting McLaurin,
I
uh,
hated that. I
I
hated
know
that.
I did
That made me
too.
throw up in my mouth.
It definitely, yeah, it saved them. I really do think that saved them because if Pacheco, they Rashad does his thing again this year, which I think he's such a boring piece, but they have a lot of boring product. They bore you to death, and then Tyreek goes for 40, Monra gets his 25, and it just the production just gets them there. So
Well, their whole this year, bro, is they're
I
gonna try to roll Jatavian Sanders until Hawkinson's back.
I don't know what they've been. They pretended like nothing was wrong all year. Didn't make any move for tight ends. It just Will didn't even know they drafted Pierce. I don't know. We give Tyler shit. Will, I'll say it right here in front of everybody. Will deserves more shit than Tyler, arguably.
Oh
That man,
no.
that man plays this league as a redraft league, and Jared carries. He always carries. I don't even think this Cooper kid exists,
He didn't
but
even know his player got shot.
yes, exactly. So
He said, who is Pierce?
oh, good grief.
But Cooper exists. We're starting to come around on the kid.
I've never met him. I don't think he's real.
All right.
Yeah, I think I'm obviously picking the pups here. If there's a week you wanted to play him, it's probably week one. I think Taylor has some decent matchups. A lot of his players are on the road. Um, he's going to get Chuba week one. I think Chuba, he's obviously the starter, but I think he's going to get the lion's share of the work before Brooks comes back, before Miles Sanders gets a chance. Yeah, the tight end position, you know, Sanders has the best hands on that Panthers team, but I don't know how heavily we'll use him week one. I hated seeing them get McLaurin. That was actually one of my targets to go get him back, and then I look at my phone and they've got him. I'm like, oh, there he goes.
There he goes.
I
So
was
yeah,
trying to sell
if
Pollard forever, bro, and I finally found a deal. And I was like,
You
yeah,
got Pollard. Yeah, they got Pollard too, which I think shored up their running back depth. That
yeah.
that that
yep,
move was big for them.
yep, I've got him at 3 in my power rankings. I
They
think they win. They win week one.
I
they've
think
got
they
a
got
lot
it.
of weekly firepower, and they've got the depth now. It's going to be a hard team to knock out.
Yeah.
You want to play them until you want to be scheduled up against them before Hawkinson comes back because that's That's their glaring hole, but I got them beating the Bombers this week. Any objections?
Nope.
Not here.
All right.
Hey,
Here's a
are we going to
matchup.
talk about the Bombers getting that new logo that they like so well, but it really just looks like a butt plug with a crown on the top?
Bro, I loved it until you
I
ruined
loved
it
it
for me.
too, man. I thought it was dope.
It was like you went into like Chat GPT or something and said, make me a fantasy football logo with these colors and make it sexual. And
And this is why Matt is T Ray's biggest rival. This
Bro,
is
you literally ruined Taylor's logo for me.
he
I
was so
loved it so
excited
much.
about that thing.
I think he paid somebody to do it too. Now the guy probably thinks he has a crush on him. All right, we got labs and classics. Have y'all ever seen this matchup? Maybe three,
Dude,
four
I'm
times in a row.
so tired of playing Christian week 1. Like, let me
Uh,
get him week 6 or week 7. I'm
We
so
tried
tired
to
of it.
do a championship rematch, bro. So,
It's just awful.
well, is this, yeah. So, how do we feel about Christian's team this offseason? I don't think they made a single move, did they?
I
No,
feel the same way I
I
always
mean,
feel about this
I
team.
can just pull up my notes from last year and repeat it. You know, he's got Jefferson, he's got Chase, he has no bench.
Let
Next.
me
No,
ask you
that's
something.
not true. That's not true. He has AJ Green.
That's true. Let
Yeah.
me ask you something to see if y'all understand this move by Christian. Why does he like once every 3 weeks get on there and just drop a player? He's got four empty bench spots.
Yeah. Yeah.
But every once in a while he'll log on and be like, can't see that guy on my team anymore, and then log right back on.
He's
And
got 4
it's
open
it's
slots.
never AJ Green either. It's somebody.
No, he's got 5 open slots. He's not carrying a defense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, the Patriots defense will be on that team here in a day or so.
Are they available?
Yeah.
That's classic.
I
Pun
just
intended.
classics. I Christian's team, I mean, it's kind of like Matt's team. It's no matter how much we realistically shit on the holes that they have, they somehow find a way every single year. So I imagine he'll be good again this year and competitive. Um, it just is what it is. I mean, that team just keeps getting older and older though. So if we're going with logic, at some point the wheels have to start to fall off of some of these guys like Henry. Allen probably has his weakest supporting cast ever. He's still probably the quarterback one, but maybe lesser advantage there. And then Ferguson, he thinks is an elite tight end. I would argue that that's not true, but he is probably the number
Bro,
two.
all of these like this was supposed to be it. It was supposed to be the end of this build. Like he was supposed to eat the shit this year. But
He just ran
all
it back.
these dead running backs got taken out of their deathbeds and put on these new spots that everything just worked out perfect. Josh Jacobs, everybody was making fun of Josh Jacobs. It was awful. He was so bad last year. Oh, let's
Yeah.
put him on Green Bay. He's gonna fall in the end zone 12 times.
Saquon to the best offensive line in the league.
Yeah.
Henry to running
Titans,
behind
they're like
Lamar.
Titans are done with Henry. He's probably washed. Nope, he's gonna go play with the Ravens.
Yep.
Mixon to Houston. All these guys land on teams where they're just gonna be force fed 10 touchdowns. It's
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah.
Here's the thing that the spotlight question of the week is Jamar Chase available for this matchup?
That's huge, actually.
It's not looking good, and I didn't consider that, to be honest.
Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about that either.
I was prepared to pick the classics.
Same.
Time is running out, bro. I mean, he can throw in Khalil Shakir, but that's not Jamar Chase.
Matt, who do you have? Kamara, and who else in your bottom two flexes?
Cooper.
Right now, I've got Kamara and Cooper in there.
Gotcha.
Could potentially put Zach Moss in there if I needed to, or Najee.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, if Chase doesn't, I mean, this is always like such a balanced matchup between these two teams. It's been awesome to see Matt beat him the last 4 times, over and over and over. That's been really cool. So
That's been
if
really cool.
if Chase doesn't go, I do think Matt pulls it off. If Christian's team is fully good, I still think that this, even though they all landed in great spots, these are all olds, and you don't want to play him early in the year. Or sorry,
Right.
Christian will get his wins early in the year. If the wheels do fall off, I think it falls off pretty quick.
Yeah,
So
you don't want to play this team. Like if you don't want to play this team week one. You play them later in the season, you're probably not even lining up against half these running backs.
Right.
Um, it's gonna be a tough one, bro. Like I could really see this one going either way. Uh, it's a couple interesting factors. I'm gonna say the classic squeak one out and kind of victory lap this thing hardcore. Matt's got to kind of post his ring in the chat and remind him afterwards. But I think the classic's gonna pull it out week one.
Oh yeah, we need to talk about that. We need to talk about my wife throwing away our trophy.
What
Yeah,
the what?
She threw the
yes.
chain away.
So
She
the
didn't know
chain
what
and
it
the
was.
shield, my wife, it was out in the garage and she said, "Oh, I thought it was like some sort of stage prop or something because I do drama all the time." And so she just picked it up and threw it out.
Your
In the
improv club
drama.
came over and left it behind.
Do what?
The improv club came over one night, left it behind.
Yeah, so we are gonna upgrade our trophy this year.
So
Dylan,
Matt had the idea, and
yeah,
I've been lazy about pitching it, but he's gonna pitch in a little bit more than everybody else,
yeah.
and then everyone's gonna pitch in a little bit. We're gonna get something that's actually cool to have when we win. We were looking at the belts, the championship belts. We could take a vote on it, kind of see how much everybody wants to pitch in, but we got co-owners and mess in here. Everybody pitches in $10. We could get something pretty cool.
Yeah.
We're kind of missing that. It's like, oh, you won, and then that's kind of it at the end of the year. We need a little bit of a prop again, but we need something cool this year. We'll figure it out.
I agree. The belt would be so dope. The fantastic thing about this league is that everybody cares so much, but like you said, you just kind of win, and then those of us that have one, we just kind of win, and then it's just like, all right, I'll go
On
again
to the
next year.
next
Like
guy.
everybody's still fucking like crazy about it, but yeah, the belt would be cool. So I think you could argue what's worse between throwing it away and scratching it up. I don't know. Maybe we should take a vote. I'm just kidding, Matt.
We
That
had a bad run at these makeshift trophies. We finally
yeah,
just need to crack
yeah,
down and do something right.
yeah. I think that's super cool. And yeah,
We
people
had
would
the OG one get scratched up. Well, that's not the OG one. The OG one was made out of tape and a box and an action figure. That was a long time ago. The first real one got scratched up, then fell apart, retired. Then we had the paper mache, whatever it was. It was a little bit more heavy duty. You have a Super Bowl trophy that shattered at Christian's house. Then we had the chain got thrown away. We've had a bad run, man.
No, we're
the
going
belt
for the
would be
belt.
the belt would be dope too. Yeah, the belt would be really cool.
All right, so we've got this next matchup. Might be my two favorites this year. This might be a championship preview. Miles versus Big Papa. How do y'all feel about these two teams? I'll gush about them after you guys.
I'll let Matt say his bad stuff, and then we can gush.
I don't have too much bad stuff to say. I love Big Papa's build. I've got him number two. Um, I love what he's done. I think he's made a lot of good moves. I think all of his moves have made sense. So
It's been patient.
shout out to Victor. Miles, I think this is a good team. I think they're a contender. I wrote them down at I had them tied at 5 and 6 between them and Jeff. I think their their flex is great. Their tight ends were great. I didn't wide receiver was the one place I knocked them on. So that was their wide receivers are deep, but I don't know. They're going to need one or two of them to jump up into the elite category to
Yeah.
to
As
be a
far as
contender.
finishing as a wide receiver one, I think I'd only say Metcalf has the best shot at being like a maybe wide receiver 10 finish. These other guys are like locked in as 13 through 20. I mean, maybe not
Agreed.
Keenan Allen locked in, but it's going to be hard to beat some of these like superstar wide receiver teams, even though this build is so put together. Like everything, like it's a put together team. Even the depth, it's got great running backs, maybe the best running back unit in the league. Even though Matt doesn't like Bijan, he's got to see a little more first.
Oh, I think his running back unit's fantastic.
Yeah, it's great. It's one of my favorite teams. I have to have him in my top three. I'm a
I think
Stroud
I'm higher
fan,
on
but
Cook than most too, and he's got him on the bench currently. So I
yeah,
mean,
James Cook.
That's a squad.
Um, it's a good team. He's got 3 firsts next year. This guy's going to stick around at the top for a little while. Um, you think it's a championship contender, Johnny?
I do. I do. I went on last year, well, like week 5, 6, when we did one of our last podcasts, and said I like Miles as the dark horse. Didn't work out for Miles last year, obviously. I mean, I don't know if he made it a run at all last year, but I just liked what he was doing, and it's continued. The running backs are strong. I agree with Matt. He doesn't have that elite wide receiver, but I think that the running backs are good enough with those solid wide receivers to get what you need out of your wide receiver production. Um, Kelsey obviously getting up there in age, but I think still qualifies obviously as an elite tight end. So I like what Miles is doing. He has a bunch of depth, got a bunch of usable guys on his bench. So even if he does run into an injury or two, can throw in Ridley, can throw in. I mean, Jameson's got a lot of hype. So he Miles has a squad. Respect to Miles. Liked it last year, liked it this year, and then yeah, I think those are the top two right now, Miles and Vic. I'm obviously more of like a youth movement guy. I don't always love all the olds, but Vic has built what we all knew. He built a juggernaut. He gave up his depth to go get CD, which I think was an overpay. But he's got the Brees Gibbs duo that could get him 40 points a week at the running back position. And then he's got some of the best wide receivers with McBride and Kyler Stack. I mean, it's his depth is questionable, but I've watched Christian's team and Matt's team compete the last 2 or 3 years with very little depth. So it's
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah, I always want to call out these teams without depth. I mean, Vic, it's a two running back team. There's literally not a third running back on this roster.
Yeah.
I mean, not literally. They can't play the ones on the roster though. But I always call out these
I mean,
teams with
yeah,
no
pretty
depth,
literally.
saying it's all going to fall apart. It's cool at the start, and it never really happens. It works
Wait,
out.
yeah.
The fantasy guys don't respect depth anymore. I think Victor slaps his nuts on the table. I think he's the highest scoring team week 1, and I don't know how good Miles is going to do, but it's not going to be enough to beat Vic week 1. He's going to kind of preview what's to come for the next few years for the league this week.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good prediction. I think Cardinals playing at Buffalo is scary week 1. I think you could see maybe Marvin Harrison not getting what we might see him get later in the year. But the rest, I like the rest of his matchups. I'm definitely not picking against him.
How do y'all feel about like a super stack? Like,
I think depending on the offense and like that stack, I'm not as high as Marv uh year one. Like I personally, I mean he's got neighbors. I like neighbors more in this year, but he's got them both, so it doesn't really matter there. But yeah, I think that is a concentrated enough offense that you can do it in it as long as the concentration's there. Like the Bengal stack would be a good one to go ahead and double. I think you can make doubles work for sure.
Yep.
yeah,
Yep. I think yeah, I think I'm opposite of Johnny just with I think he's a year away from winning this league. I don't see him not being the favorite next year. I think he win it this year? I think he could. He is relying heavily on some rookies, which it could work, but you've got to get it right. And
yeah.
it's going to have to go right. I think yeah, I think a year from now you pencil this team in as the number 1 team in the league for potentially the next 3 years.
Does does Vic have any first next year, Dill?
I
I don't think
I think
so.
he's out of picks, bro. I think he did it. I think
So
he,
so I agree with Matt. Relying on rookies is always a little risky. I do think though that when you're like a neighbors level who is like Jamar
Oh, I
Chase
agree with that. Yep.
and
It's gonna get
no,
fed.
yeah, nothing in New York is keeping him from getting all the targets. Harrison would be the one that I would just because McBride's already established and stuff, but even then, I mean, he's the greatest wide receiver prospect we've seen in a few years. So can't miss whatever you want to call it. So yeah, it is risky, but he's got the two that I'd want to risk it with. So
yeah. For sure.
Really.
I like it. I think those rookies are going to be fine.
Yeah.
Victor, he was talking about wanting a running back. He's starting to see that he might need a little a backup running back on this team.
What is it? Roshan is his like it
Roshan, yeah.
on those bye weeks. He is probably taking no less than 5.
Yeah, this isn't a team that's going to like go undefeated or anything like that.
No, no.
It's it's
It's like you said. These teams are competitive, even all the way down to wherever you want to put 9, 10. Like they have the opportunity. If I think that these are the top two, Matt might have himself or Will or somebody else up there. I don't think any of these teams are going undefeated. It's
yeah,
gonna
this is a team I could see like even not maybe playing in the gosh, he could even play in the play, and I could even see it falling to a 5 seed. He probably locks in a playoff spot, but I think it's going to be like a 4 or 3 seed. That's like the most favored team in the playoffs. There's just going to be weeks where he doesn't have the bye week fill-ins. There's going to be weeks where the Cardinals shit the bed. But you're going to look at this team in the playoffs, not as the 1 or 2 seed, but they're going to be probably the favorite in
the
the
favorite.
playoffs. Yeah.
Yep, this is a tough out. And,
I'm with
and
you.
I applaud him for going and getting CD if that's his guy. I personally have CD as wide receiver one. So I liked him doing that. I think Jeffrey and them making that move that you touched on earlier, Don, that's the move I saw Christian making last year with Jefferson.
Yeah.
Let somebody come and get him, make him overpay. I think last year for Jefferson, you probably could have got like a CD and a first and a second, or maybe a CD and like a DJ Moore type in a second. That's the move I thought Christian was going to make to start rebuilding his team. I think the window's passed on Jefferson to get something like that. It could easily come back. But I do think people are lower on Jefferson now than they have been in the past,
Yeah,
2 years.
it's a good deal both ways.
Yeah.
The Mean Machine took on the risk, but you could look at this deal next year, and Garrett Wilson could he could come up towards that Lamb tier, and the Olave part could be profit. It could be an
Yep.
awesome deal.
Yep.
But they definitely took on the risk. I do know that Victor did offer the same, if not better, offer for Jefferson. I think those guys are locked into Christian's team. I don't think he'll ever want to deal them.
As many times as that man gets drunk and says he's ready to move one, he won't.
I
He's
mean,
not.
you just going to take him down with you? Just go ahead and retire him with the ship.
That's right. That's what's going to happen.
Probably.
All right, last matchup to touch on. We got the Blazers and the Express. These are two interesting teams. Can't really put my finger on what's going on either side. It does look like the Express they were a little stronger earlier in the offseason. I think they looked around and decided they didn't want to have all their eggs in this 1 year basket with all the tough competition. It's still not a bad team at all, though. He just made a lot of moves to get younger. Um, and then the Blazers, they just keep stringing it along. They don't want to make any moves towards I don't want to say rebuilding because it's not a bad team, but it's interesting. I don't know, man. Somebody help me out with this.
What Tyler's running backs are Aaron Jones. Who else?
Zamir White, Zeke Elliott, Eckler,
Yes.
Charbonnet. So like
Yeah.
everything about this team is like, yeah, you can string it along to a
Right.
6, 7 seed, try to make a playoff run. Like nothing about this team is like, oh, no way you're gonna make the playoffs. But like,
But I think that would have to be like best case. Jones stays healthy. Zamir is kind of the workhorse. Evans
right.
has a repeat season for him to get what maxes out at like fifth best team. Uh,
That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of value on this roster, but even like your best case scenario, I don't know. It doesn't like I can make a better argument for the best case scenario for Michael than I can for like the best case scenario for these guys. It's like
well,
you might be a hater.
Michael's got the building blocks, right? Like this team, the what young building blocks does I'm not looking at his squad right now. What young building blocks does Tyler have?
Kincaid,
Kincaid and Devonta.
Kincaid and Devonta, and Lamar is still like a
Yeah,
PC.
got the Lamar Andrews because he
Yeah,
has Andrews too, right? So
yeah.
yeah, I mean
Mhm.
he's got that, but it's I think what you said about Chris is spot on. His team, where um, he didn't, I don't think he made a bunch of moves for picks necessarily, but traded some olds and got some, Addison, Rashi Rice, um, these like wide receiver two in dynasty types
Yeah.
that are fun. He's got Pickens. I think Javante's been underrated like all off season and could be a serviceable piece this year. So I like Chris's team, but I
See,
do think that
the thing that about Tyler's teams in the past years is he's always had the perfect team, and he's got a handful of firsts like in the next 3 years. One next year, one in 2026, three or four in 2027. He's always had the perfect team where you do the thing Victor did, or you do the thing I'm doing right now. Like it's screaming at you to do it. But he's like his mindset is as long as I've got these picks, these handful of picks, I can keep trying to compete. I've got these picks to fall back on and refresh. He keeps refresh, and he's not making that next move up, if that makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah, Tyler's team is a team I would hate to play against and then hate to own at the same time. Like
Right.
I want no part of being the one that's in charge of this team, whether you choose to move forward with it or rebuild it. But at the same time, you could be decently uncomfortable playing against him as well. I mean, he'll
Yeah.
win 2 or 3 games just on the Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews stack, I think,
Yeah,
this
for
year.
sure.
And
Yeah.
then you've got Devonta. Devonta will have 4 weeks where AJ Brown's non-existent, and Devonta will get 20 to 30. Diggs, who knows what he's going to do down in Houston? I'm sure he's going to have some weeks where he's up there. The running backs are pretty barf, but Mike Evans, he's still Mike Evans. He's going to finish somewhere between 12 and 18 probably in wide receivers, and then he's got Kincaid. So I mean, this team's going to beat people. Um, I want no part of running it, but I mean, it's a pretty solid team.
Yeah, I do think it's solid. Tyler always finds a way to be competitive, and I think he'll be competitive again this year. I just think it maxes out at like five, fifth. If everything hits again, where Evans goes and does his thing, and Aaron Jones stays healthy, and Lamar and Andrews, like you said, carry him. But we'll see.
Yeah, I have them at 8 and 9. So
Yeah,
pretty
Makes
even
sense.
matchup. I
I have
think
those two closed. Yeah.
This
Blazers
Chris
probably
team,
win this week's my pick.
yeah, I think so too. This Chris team isn't. I think they could be really good mid-season. They're just not ready to to know who to start. If I, I guess is the call. It's a lot of guys that look like wide receiver twos or running back twos, but you look at this bench and he has done a great job of just you
Talk
don't
about depth.
like it's Kate. There's Caleb Williams, there's Marshawn Lloyd, there's Bucky Irving, Blake Corum, Javante Williams, Jalen Polk, Roma Duns, Brian Thomas. Like that could be his whole starting lineup could just be those guys instead of the guys he has in halfway through the season, and they could be a good team.
Who's in his starting line right now?
He's got Trevor Lawrence, Ramadre, and Singletary,
Singletary.
Pickens, London, Ingram, Rashi Rice, and Jordan Addison.
Hell, give me Chris this week. I'll be different. Yeah.
I
I'll
could
go
see
Chris.
the Chiefs coming out, especially this week without Hollywood, and just being like, "Y'all are gonna let us use Rashi? Well, we're gonna use the hell out of him because I think
That's
he's gonna
true.
pick up a week here in a little
That's
bit."
true. It can happen.
Yeah, I think Worthy will get his obviously, but this week. But yeah, I mean Rashi, I think kind of is going to be that new safety. He's going to be the new Kelsey when Kelsey slowly dissipates. So,
Yeah.
yeah, give me Chris this week. I like it.
All right, let's close in thoughts. Let's pick a Super Bowl or GFFL Bowl 20 matchup. Um, I don't want to say bold. I want to say you're putting money on it. Who you actually think is going to be in it? Let's start. Johnny, you ready?
Yeah.
You got to think about it. I'm
Um,
ready. I'm going.
go ahead.
I'm going with a rematch of GFFL. What was it? 17? I'm going Labs versus Wolf Pups. I think I didn't have the Wolf Pups there 2 weeks ago. I think they made a move. I think they made the right move. I think Big Papa Victor, this is his league to take. I don't think it's this year. I think it's going to be he's gonna show everybody what's coming. I think we're in for a long next 3, 5 years, whatever it might be. I think it's 1 year too early. I think Labs have one more year in them. Obviously, all that hinges on McCaffrey's health, but I think McCaffrey's got 1 to 2 more left in him. So I think I'm going Labs versus Pups.
Who wins that one?
Labs are going to take the 3-peat.
All right, all right. Let's cut the
Why
shit.
not? Can't pick against it.
Cut
Let's cut the
shit
shit.
down.
You're not allowed to pick against yourself when you're going for the three-peat. But defend yourself, Matt. These other teams, the Killers, Papa, the Pups, like all of them have stronger starting lineups than you, and most of them have better depth than you. So why are you so confident? Well, why is it going to work this year?
I don't know if they have better depth. And
Well, you're counting Moss and
I
maybe
mean, starter. I mean, how many other? That's a starting running back on the bench. There's 2 of them sitting down there just waiting. And then that's Chubb is a wild card. I won't count him, but I would love to have Chubb back week 10 or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
I've got a little insurance on Kamara. I would honestly, if Kamara goes down, that's fine. I kind of want to see what Miller can do.
The coach doesn't.
You're right.
Dennis Allen hates them.
So there's a little bit of injury insurance down there, and then I'll agree with wide receivers is where my depth starts to hurt. But Dobbs has his weeks. Shaheed, I'm not really counting on anything. So
It's a little unfair to say no depth, Johnny, as much as I think what you're trying to say is there's no sex appeal on the depth.
No, I think
They're
Matt
all
has
guys
guys.
you put in your lineup in your bye weeks, and they're perfectly fine starts.
Yeah,
I mean,
Matt's
Guys
not
he's going to be
relying on.
starting in the
Najee
playoffs.
Harris was the league winner last year.
Yeah,
in the
no, I
championship.
agree. That sadly somehow that Najee Harris deal bailed you out last year.
That's what did it.
No, Jaron Hall bailed him out.
He was on my roster.
No, I don't think you're right. I don't think Dobbs or Moss or these guys are sexy. They're better than throwing in Khalil Shakir in your flex every time or Noah Brown every time you need a guy in a pinch. I just don't think honestly, maybe Arthur Smith going to Pittsburgh is the best thing for Najee. I think he was working his way like toward way more of a committee, kind of like I think Zach Moss will be in a committee with Chase Brown. So these committee backs, I don't see them as like locked and loaded, like starting running backs that I'm like, oh hell yeah, I'm ready to throw them in. Like I'm the biggest running backs don't matter proponent. I've never really been big on the running back, so yeah, I guess I fundamentally disagree with how you build teams if you're running back heavy and I'm a wide receiver heavy guy. So, but I just think those other teams have more sex appeal, have more upside. You can't bet against yourself. You're going for 3. I mean, it would be whack if you came on here and said that they were going to beat you. I don't think your team. I would take Killers, Papa, Pups. I'd take my team. I'd take the Mean Machine. I'd take all those teams over your team.
Hey, that's the best part about Dynasty. Everybody's got different opinions.
Yep.
I'm gonna go a different route here with my I don't. There's so many teams this year I could say, and I feel okay with that prediction. I I think everyone's ready for the new era though, bro, and I think I'm gonna hop on board. People are tired of these labs and these classics and these whoop pups, bro. They're sick of it. They can't stand it. Um, we're not doing. Some of us aren't doing a lot to make it go away, but Victor's like the Dark Knight of the league. Even though I'm starting not to be able to like him, like he hasn't even started winning yet, and I'm already like, I'm sick of this shit. I can already see how insufferable the Victor championship would be.
Hey, we have to hope and pray that he's not right about Dontavian Wicks, or he'll never shut up, bro. He was right about Puka. If he's right about Wicks, it's over. He is going to be insufferable. So
Yeah, I agree.
sorry to interrupt.
Just to show how close I think this could be, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna give a final four. I'm gonna go Nuts and Labs on one end, and I'm gonna go Miles and Big Pop on the other, and I think we're gonna get a Miles Nuts championship match.
Yeah.
I think Miles is gonna win though.
Oh wow.
Give me the Miles win this year.
Right in the nuts.
Wait, who'd you say? Miles and who?
Miles and you.
I thought you said Miles and Pup.
Nuts.
Oh wow, thanks. That's nice of you.
Well, you're gonna lose.
Either way,
Just
yeah,
happy with it, right?
You're
I
gonna make it,
appreciate.
but you're not gonna win.
Hey, just happy
Blue
to be
nuts.
here. Happy to be here. I'm gonna go Papa and Pups. Okay, I think those are the two best teams all around. I love Miles' team, um, but I think that, like you said, the new era. It's like a balance between the new and the old. Um, I really do think that the Pollard McLaurin deal saved the Pups. I think it would have been more killers, or I would have had a chance, or something this year. But I sadly think that bailed them out. So we'll probably have another year of the Pups being really good. But it is what it is. I do like me in the Final Four though. I'll put me and the uh, Killers in the Final Four.
I like it. All right, so that's GFL podcast week one. We're gonna try to do this every week. We're gonna start really honing in some trash talk. We're gonna get some different guests on here. Well, we're gonna do our matchups each week. Um, Closing thoughts. Anybody got any roasts, any quick roasts or anything? My computer's dying, but somebody's gotta say something negative about somebody before we get out of here.
Can I say something positive first, and then somebody can roast?
Just go ahead.
Of course, Johnny.
I remember it's literally been 10 years now. It was Jared said it. I'm glazing Jared again after I already said he carries the Pups every year. Somebody made a trade 10 years ago, and Jared Hall said, "Why would you ever make that trade when you can have Mike Evans for the next 10 years?" Right? And Mike Evans for the last 10 years has had 1,000 yards and however many touchdowns every year. I don't remember the exact trade. I'd have to go back through and find it. But Jared basically called that. And I think about that all the time. Every time I'm trading for a young running back or whatever, I'm like, I could have had Mike Evans for 10 years. And yeah, so that's me glazing Jared. All right, I'm done.
I think Dylan got so mad at that he left.
Oh, God. Okay.
He said stall.
Gotcha. All right. You got trash talk? You got a hot take? What you got?
Dude, I don't have any built up. Normally, if I got them, I say them.
Yeah.
I don't have a hot take. I do think this was the kickoff show this year was much more difficult / well-rounded than last year. I think last year I would have bet my house that there were 3 teams that could compete and win the championship. And this year I would not do that. I think while I don't think it's a large number, I do think there's 4, 5, 6 teams that have some sort of shot of winning if the chips fall their way. And so I think it's going to make the league more exciting. I think for the past 2 or 3 years, it's been a massively top heavy league, and I think it is starting to even out a little bit more. So I think we're going to see a little more depth across the board. I think it's going to make the regular season more exciting. There's not going to be too many freebies unless you're playing like Dylan or Taylor's team. Those are going to be the only freebies I think you get weekly.
Oh, you didn't have to do that to Taylor, bro. He's not going to be a freebie.
Yo, I said this last year, and I'll do it again, but I'm gonna win one game, and I beat Mean Machine last year.
Yeah,
It was incredible.
Yeah.
I played them week one. I'd love to do it again. But my closing thoughts. Speaking of Mean Machine, has anybody had to deal with this guy this offseason?
Brother, that is my little brother, and he drives me crazy.
This
with the
guy
trade.
is the worst, bro.
I've been trying to go through Brad just because I play soccer with him. So
Good.
If there's
a good
anybody
idea.
alone or anything like that, I'll try to drop a hint and then hope that that's what gets it across.
They pretend like they don't talk to each other, though. They pretend that like, oh, I gotta get a hold of Brad. I don't even know where he's at. Like they are the worst. They are the worst people to talk trade with in the entire league. At least Tyler will like reject you or something. They
This
don't.
guy will send me an offer via text. I've never gotten an offer from this guy on the app. It's a text. And I go, yeah, that sounds good. I'll do it. He goes, whoa, whoa, whoa. I was just brainstorming, man. Oh, okay. Or
Yeah.
he'll send me a horrible offer and I'll clown it and say, Jeff, you got to be kidding me. That's the worst thing I've ever seen. And he goes, oh no, that we were going to add more. I just had to talk to Brad about it first.
Sheesh. Yeah, it's tough.
Last thing I got to say, I am excited. I didn't pick the Wolf Pups in my final four, but speaking of four, does anybody have any prediction of who will be the fourth co-owner next offseason joining the squad?
Of that team.
So
I mean,
before we know it, they'll have 10 co-owners.
Yeah.
Daniel Lawson probably.
I'd love to have Daniel in the league. He is number one on the waiting list. We are gonna vote. We're gonna have some nominees. If anybody slacks off this year, doesn't answer trades, doesn't set their lineup, you're gonna be on the hot seat, and you could be out of this league. No hard feelings. We've got to move on.
Is it going to be like Survivor style? We're going to vote. We're going to vote. We're going to vote Michael off, and then he's going to have an immunity. He's been sitting on it for 20 years. He has the immunity.
Yeah, he'll never be gone.
It's the GFFL chain. He actually stole it from your house.
Hey, who's going to be in Charlotte for week 2?
Not
John,
me.
I'll be there.
Not me.
That's why I just traded for Lad McConkey, bro.
So we'll have me, you, Michael, Will, Jared, I think are going. Taylor's out. Cooper will be there. It's going to be fun. We'll have a GFFL.
Miles might show up. He's a Charger fan.
I didn't know those were a thing.
You saw that fake one on TV last year.
Are y'all going to the Chiefs game?
You're not.
No, I took $600 and ran.
No, we're not going to the Chief game. Or I probably will go to the Chief game. Johnny, are you going to come to one?
Yeah, I'd love to make it to a game. Yeah.
All right. Well, are we just chatting now?
We all gave our stuff, I think.
Yeah, if I told Johnny if I have anything mean, I kind of just say it at the time. So I haven't been sitting on much.
Hey, I'll add my last caveat. Matt, I do think your team is much better if Chubb makes that. If Chubb does make, and I've never bet against Nick Chubb. I think he's incredible. So yeah, if he comes back, it does change my tune a little bit about your team. Sometimes I forget he's there. So I'll say that's my two nice things.
He's house money for me. That being said, I mean, I lost him. What was it? Week 1 last year? No, week 2. It was first. Yeah. It was week 2, right?
Yeah, it was early.
No, it was early.
The thing here's on it. I have had different thoughts this offseason. Early in the offseason, I was like, dude, I'm not touching this guy. That's too horrific for his age to come back from. Then I see that like they're just gonna roll Jerome forward, and even though he was so bad last year, he has to be in the plans that Chubb's gonna come back. Like it just has to happen. He's not done.
I think they should be a playoff team. So I would love to see him. I know he's on short-term PR, so that's closer to week 5. But yeah, I would like to see him stretch it out to week 10, week 9, week 10. Get to their bye week. What is their bye week?
Cleveland.
It's probably better. It's probably better if it comes back.
Their bye week's week 10. I'd love to see him come back week 11.
Well, week 11. I mean, week 11. Yeah, I guess 14. Because you got it. They're not giving him 15 carries on his first week back. They're easing him in. So whether you want him to come back week 6 and get eased in, or week 11 and get eased in, I mean,
bro. Play-in this year, anything can happen in that play-in. People forget everyone thinks their team's too good to worry about the play-in. Week 14 is do or die, and there's Ravens,
the biggest buy.
Colts, Ravens, Texans, Colts. There's a couple other teams. It's brutal.
Tyler loses the Lamar Andrews on week 14. Michael loses Richardson. I mean, Yeah, a lot of these teams. Yeah, you're right. I don't know why AI did that shit. Week 14 is going to be with that many buys. It's going to be so weird.
Yeah, I remember hoping Christian lost last year during that. And he didn't.
Yeah, he squeaked out of that.
Yep.
You took him down.
Wait a second. Matt squeaked out of that shit. Amari dropped 50.
Oh, that wasn't squeaky. No, I wasn't in. I wasn't even. That was semifinals. That was 16.
Was it semis? Okay.
Yeah. When he dropped 52.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was on
That was
one
in,
seed,
Had
so I
the
came in the semis.
Did you knock out? I don't know who you knocked out. That was crazy. That 52 bomb was.
I played the. Oh, I didn't play the pups. The pups played Christian.
but you were the 1 seed, right?
That's right. So I played. It might have been. Was it Miles?
Oh man.
I don't remember.
I
But
think it was.
super buy is so valuable.
I think it was Miles.
Yeah, that Cooper deal for Matt last year was very nice.
Cooper is like, he's so solid. He's
Yeah.
just like wide receiver 2 all year, and then right when you need him.
Hey, speaking of house money, Matt, is this the whole Kamara putting his house for sale a real thing?
Oh, did he do that? I hadn't seen that.
Yeah.
He's
So
not
if
leaking.
Kamara doesn't play for you, you might be relying on Zach Moss again early.
Oh, dude, I've got to have those 15 checkdowns and 24 rushing yards. Gotta have that.
Such a PPR scam, but in your last flex, nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, you beat Miles in the finals.
Play the game.
In the semifinals.
Semifinals, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was the 52-point game from Cooper.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Nick Mullins was your quarterback?
Dude, I absolutely went through it. Just awful planning.
That was Nick Mullins versus Gardner Minshew was our semifinal matchup.
Well, what was the finals? Who'd I start? Wasn't it Jared Stidham?
She plays Jared Stidham.
You started Stidham.
Oh gosh. Just sick, man. So gross.
This is embarrassing, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. The
Little
champion last year rolled Dobbs like 4 weeks.
That's awesome. All right, guys, I gotta get out of here.
All right.
It's been fun. Hey, football's back. Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's get it. I gotta go check on my WNBA bets, unfortunately.
All right.
Hey, I'll give that to T-Ray. That boy has been absolutely cooking FanDuel on some of them
Dude,
WNBA
if we
bets.
start a WNBA Dynasty League, he'd win it 10 years in a row.
Got them all.
Give his flowers.
All right.
He's up like $5,000 this week. What else is there to give him?
Johnny, you gotta see it, bro. He just picks out who's gonna score the first basket, who's gonna win.
He's been picking the first basket right with the money line and betting like $15 to win 2,000, bet $5 to win 800.
He said he said he was hitting. He didn't tell me he was winning thousands of dollars. Oh god. What a goof.
He's made more this week than the players, man.
Oh gosh.
All right, we'll cut it on that.
All right. See y'all.